Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit is happy here back again with Fate Unlimited Blade Works. We're on episode 5, and in the last episode we had basically a bit of a slowdown from the previous episodes of where we had fucking, you know, fights going on and shit. But yeah, so we still have Rin, who's, I don't know how, like, when was the last time she slept? I think it was like, I think she's been away for like 2 whole days. But she's still out, like, looking to, you know, to fucking at least end one of the masters and their servants, because she's out looking for fights. I mean, she's already basically, she's been hanging out with Shiro and Saber, right? Already been confronted by Ilya and Berserker, and now she's after, like, this witch who they believe that whoever that witch is, the servant that she has is Caster. So, you know what I mean? And she's already fought with Lancer as well. So basically, she's like just going one like after the other, and never being able to finish the job. So I feel like she's just like on a vendetta to just get past this first, you know what I mean? Just get through the first obstacle, essentially. You know, I talked about it all last episode, but essentially I just think that she's so focused on this idea of like living up to like the family's, you know, the family's like sort of way of life. You know, this is how, like, this is what you do. This is what you have to do. And I feel like, you know, she you know, making excuses for herself, the reasons why, like, she needs to do this for her family's sake and whatever, and yeah, I mean, that's the reason why. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. I did a lot of fucking talking, like, in the post discussion for last episode, so I'm not going to take any more time and talk and just get into this next episode. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 5. First of all, no, Kiritsu cannot be dead. I don't believe it. I don't believe it one bit. I just don't, like, because that's so fucked, man. Like, we can't just have him dead. Like, oh no, he just died. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in between, in these 10 years, he died. No, I can't. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want to believe that. Fuck. I don't want to believe that. But I love that today. I love that, like, quote at the end there, though, because it cements some things for me. First of all, you know, my issue with Tokiomi in Zero was that it was being a mage before being a family. You know what I mean? That was my issue that I had with him. Like, all that stemmed from Sakura being, you know, given Sakura to the Mato family, right? Bad enough in of itself because of what the fuck was going on, and then on, you know, obviously what happened to Karya because of that. Like, just, you know what I mean? Just horrible fucking parentage. I don't like it. I don't like it. You know what I mean? I understand, like, the reasons why. Like, I think Rin has put it best out of anybody in the show. Like, because I don't think in Zero they really went into it a lot as the reasons, like, as to why the families are the way they are. But, you know, generally mage families do put this idea of family aside in the face of magic, because that's the priority. But I just, you know what I mean? So I understand it. Doesn't mean I like it. I don't like it. You know, and that's why, you know, when Rin's putting it that way and just like, you know what I mean? Or, you know, Kiritsu, like, you know, your father, like, was, the reason why he wasn't a mage is because he was a father before that. You know what I mean? And he put that before being a mage, which, you know what I mean, which I like that quote, because it rings true with her story, and you could see, like, on her face she was a bit melancholy at having to say that line, because in some essence, like, she's looking at her father being like, oh, like, I wish he was, like, you know, he'd had that, you know, she wishes he was, like, more. She wanted her father to be more of a father to her than a mage, you know. So you can see like the melancholy sort of aspect in that. And again, I think that concretes like this idea that she's more like she's sort of forced into this role of doing something that she has to do for the sake of the family. So again, it's that has like have to do with I want to do. So yeah, she mentioned this idea that like the parents pass on a crest, and that is what's passed on through you know, like from parent before they pass away, and then that's supposed to, you know what I mean, give them I'm guessing it's like sort of a, well, it helps with like sort of lineage and stuff. I quite like the idea of that. I'm guessing if that's the case, then you don't need a blood relative. Although I thought that was something that was like almost like, I thought it was something that was essential, but I'm guessing it's not. I'm guessing like if it's actually a blood, like if it's actually your biological child, like the blood runs through their veins, it's kind of like I don't know, maybe they're like they grow up with more being more adept at magic or whatever, maybe having access to a bigger mana pool, but I'm guessing then if it was ever possible for him to pass on the crest, could Kiritsugu could he do it with Shiro? Like, could he pass that on, or did he like, or was it a case of like he just couldn't pass it on because it's not his actual child? I don't know. The thing is that Shiro still calls him dad, and you know there's stuff that needs to be figured out. Like, I just feel like there's so much like interesting things that can be talked about with Kiritsugu being alive. Like, I feel like out of everyone in the fucking show, he's the one that like he's the one that's like at the centerpiece of so much like interest, because you've got, you know, Saber's come back, right? There was not a lot of shit that went down between those two in Zero. They never talked directly to each other, so there's that to, you know, to talk about. Shiro learning about what happened in the last Holy Grail War and talking to him about that, and then Ilya as well, you know what I mean? And then you've got fucking Kirei, like, you know, doing his shit. You know what I mean? So, and the thing is that wasn't there like a, at the end of Zero, Kirei like looked over at Emiya and basically said like, oh, this isn't like the last time we'll meet, or what, or something like that, you know what I mean? So I feel like he needs to be alive for the sake of a lot of shit. Him being dead and basically just being like, oh, he died in these 10 years that we didn't see, I don't like that idea. I want that. There needs to be stuff. There needs to be stuff said to him. There needs to be conversations. Fuck's sake. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, at the beginning of the episode, I mentioned this at the end of episode the 4 discussion as well. Like the pressure that Shiro has of taking on Kiritsugu's dream. I think that's the reason why it keeps, you know, like bringing that up. This idea of being like a hero or whatever, but like, you know, the desire to like not doing anything but having the potential to do it. That's the fucking conversation that he had with Mitsuzuri last episode. And that's what it tells me, is that like he has the potential there, but the desire and the pressure that's sort of weighing on him to fulfill Kiritsugu's dream is a lot to take on, you know. So I don't know. Kazuki called for Fujiwara apparently, and yeah, it's so. I think it is Kazuki then. I thought it was Issei because we hadn't seen him like since like episode 2, and I was thinking like maybe there was a like, because before then Kazuki wasn't like there was no connection between him and any other student, so I was thinking like, yo, he's using Issei as the sort of his way into it, but no, I think he's using he's using students as a way to harvest their fucking life force, which is why Issei is like, he's been harvesting Issei's life force, and that's why he's tired and he hasn't been getting much sleep. And I think it's the same with the other ones. I hope Mitsuzuri's okay. I hope she's all right, but she hasn't been seen. That's not good. And Fujiwara, I haven't seen her since, but she's a teacher, so I'm not sure if she would do that. But fuck, there's got to be a reason why he's waiting out. Like, why is he waiting? Raiden said that there's a sort of like a harvest area around the entire school, and if it gets activated, all of them, you know what I mean? Like, so why is he waiting for that exactly? I don't know. He could be using it as a trap. Like, if by having a bunch of masters in there and then using it, it could like sap a bunch of life force away from the masters as well. I don't know. But also like this whole idea that like at the end of last episode and the discussion I had on like last episode, I mentioned maybe there is this thing of like Lancer being caught in the middle of like the middle of something that wasn't his, like that, like in the prologue, and when Rin goes up to the roof and she sees that like, oh, there's this crest that's basically taking life, like basically taking the life force out of people, out of the students and whatnot, right? And then Lancer turned up, and I think it's easy for like, and I think it was done on purpose, like for the viewer to basically assume that that's connected, like that crest was made by Lancer's master, right? And that's what it is. It was set there as a trap. But it's so easy to, I think, assume that I'm thinking it's a bit too out in the open that Kazuki isn't Lancer's master. That I think it could be someone different. It could be like Kazuki could have like the assassin. That could be, the case. The thing is, though, is that Assassin referred to her master as cowardly. I'm assuming it's Assassin, because I'm the only ones left were Rider, Caster, and Assassin, right? Would seem the other ones. Berserker, Archer, Saber, and Lance. Yeah, so it's not Rider at all. Like, there's no way. Looks nothing like a caster to me. Like, just the way they attack, and obviously the idea that like Shiro even picked up on the idea that Assassin's nowhere near as like capable as the rest of them. Just furthers that point. Like, Assassin is not it's not the type of servant to go like one-on-one in a fight. The idea is with Assassin is to do things from the shadows and catch people by surprise. So I think that pretty much confirms that it has to be Assassin, even though it's not hard to like, out of the ones that were left, it just clearly isn't Kessler, clearly isn't Rider, so it has to be Assassin. But I think it's just obvious, right? So anyway, she mentioned that her master is cowardly, and would you even consider Kazuki cowardly just by like, I mean, it could be like a different type of cowardly, like the idea that he doesn't want to be seen, like he wants to be a bit, if he wants to, just act like the way that he does, it's not like, she's not calling him cowardly because he acts cowardly, but more cowardly because he doesn't show his face, or he doesn't go out in the open. So we don't know. I'm just trying to think, like, this idea, this theory that I have that Lancer and the rooftop, like, life force draining thing are not related. But yeah. Yeah, but we had the girl that was at school after hours, and I don't know why. Like, why was that girl there? There was no reason for her to be there. They clearly said at the end of that school day that, like, school clubs and shit are, like, off, right? Didn't they say that? I thought they said that. I thought they said that, like, all of that stuff was, like, discontinued or whatever. Like, it wasn't going to happen that day. I may be wrong, but I thought that was the case. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so even, like, before Rin started, like, attacking Shiro and shit like that, and I was like, I just don't believe it. Like, she sort of has this, like, there's this thing with her where I'm like, she talks up this idea that she has to do this because that's what her family wants her to do, to be in this Holy Grail war. Yet I never, you know what I mean? So like I was always thinking like, oh, she's gonna keep talking it, but eventually she's not gonna be able to do it. And I'm like it still has that feeling that she is forcing herself to do it. But for the longest while, I was still like, oh, call her bluff. She's like missing on purpose. Like, you know what I mean? She has good control with her magic. So I was like, she's acting. I thought like for when she was attacking him and stuff like that, because they were like, there were projectiles that were like pinpoint at certain places, that she would be able to control them wherever she wanted them to go. So she was intentionally missing. That's what I thought was happening. Until he went inside of a classroom and she literally like blew everything else away. Because then I was like, well, you can't control that then. Unless you can, in which case, you know, that's that. But, you know, even like, it's just a thing, is this is after it, and then, you know, like, you know, she heard someone scream, they went out to see who it was and whatever, and then Shiro basically saved her life, right? And then, you know, she's like, she comes, you know, back to like save Shiro, and it's like, you have to make up your mind. Like, I don't buy this idea that she's like, oh, she saved his life because he saved hers. Like, you know, and I guess she made up that thing of like, oh, well, there's this horrible thing going on, I guess a truce is good. You know what I mean? But she basically made a point as like, it's not really being allies, so she's not using the truce as a way to like, oh, like, we'll team up with Saber and that'll be like easier. I think it's just a truce to call off like attacks between us, but I think she's using that again as an excuse not to kill him. So yeah, I mean, and you know, if she really wanted him dead, she could have just left him. Like, you know, because I don't buy the fucking I owe you a debt because you saved my life thing. I don't buy that at all. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't, you know, owing somebody for something that they did for you doesn't really matter if you're in a battle of life or death, does it? So, yeah. And also, okay, we're talking about Shiro, that whole fight. Or maybe not that whole fight, but like, but yeah, actually, yeah, you know what? That whole fight. He has a really odd way of looking at something. Like, you know, it's how would you describe it? It's like, ever since he's been told, like, ever since, like, you know, he's been a part of this Holy Grail war, like, he's sort of like, I don't know if, like, to him, from his perspective, it's kind of all just passing him by, like, way too quick, so he just doesn't he still doesn't understand the consequences. But, like, you know, Rin is, like, trying to kill him, and he's like, one of the first things he says is, like, what are you trying to do, kill me? Like, when she's already said that that's what she's trying to do. And then, like, even though he clearly doesn't want to kill her, like, after she saves his life from, like, assassin or whatever, he gets up, immediately looks at her and says, like, what, you still want to fight? Like, you know what I mean? I don't kind of get his attitude to it. You know? It's like, how, trying to describe this. I don't know, in his head, it's like it's like playing make-believe, almost. Like, it's not real, but it kind of is. Like, just the way he thinks about stuff, it just doesn't feel like, from his perspective, he is thinking about this as a real consequential thing. It just feels like he's playing around. I don't know if I'm, like, wrong for thinking that, like, if I'm supposed to be taking something else from it, but, like, when it comes to Shiro, like, he's very vanilla. I think that probably goes back to last episode when Mitazuri was talking to him, and she was saying, like, oh, how you never crack a smile, like, not, you know, don't be like don't be like Shinji, but, like, you know, at least try to, like, have fun, kind of thing. Like, that maybe, like, he is not anything, like, really, like, nothing sticks out You know what I mean? Like, her telling him like, oh, he doesn't have like the desire to do anything. That he's just very like. Maybe boring is the right word. I mean, because I don't like using that word because I think it's like it sounds like I might be just complaining like a bit at his character, but I mean, it like he hasn't really done anything, has he? Like he doesn't. The way that he acts about this situation is very like strange. It's almost, he just doesn't understand it feels like he just doesn't understand the consequences, and he's just like, he's been told this stuff, so he believes, so like he's just being like, oh, I guess I'll do that then, and then like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this does this, it's like, okay. I don't know, I feel like he thinks that it's so fucking, I can look at Rin and like the way that her character is sort of set up. She's like, she's in a great place, and interesting, like character wise, because of, you know, of her, particularly like her father and whatnot. You know what I mean? And that, you know, being a mage for the family, I think she's like in an interesting spot where she can have conflicts within herself, which obviously she already is. And I get her character. Sakura is still like, Sakura's like still a bit of a mystery, I guess, but she's not really forefront of the story anyway. I guess actually, like, now that I think about it, like, yeah, actually now that I think about it, this like Unlimited Blade Works isn't nearly as like isn't nearly as character driven as Zero is. Or maybe that's like the wrong term. Like in Zero, the way the story was presented like as on a character basis. So you would basically have all of the 7 different servants, and they would all be doing different things. And the way that story was presented was you would get like you know, you would have stories with like, you would basically be getting a look at Kiritsugu and what he was doing, right? And then that would relate to whatever Kiria was doing. And then that would, you know, relate to whatever fucking Tokiomi was doing. So you would go there and you would have like scenes that were, you know, telling the story from his perspective, and then that would lead it to what Karia was doing. And you would have all of these different stories like spread out around the different characters and the different masters pretty much from the get-go. And I'm guessing this is just due to the fact that with Unlimited Blade Works, it's keeping the mysterious thing where like you don't know who the other masters are, so it's kind of like a it's more of a like a mystery as opposed to anything else. So maybe it's just the way that they're telling the story, and that's the reason why. Because yeah, I was just sitting here and I was just, you know, talking about like who I understand as characters, but then I'm like, well, there's no point trying to understand what like the servants are like, other than really Saber as of right now, because we already know her character from Zero. So, you know, we know what she wants, we know what her wish is. There's no point trying to understand Archer, because even he doesn't understand himself yet. He doesn't know who he is, so that's pointless. Elia, I understand Elia because, again, that is kind of something that, you know, I think it does actually help having that, you know, that story carry on from Zero. You already know the characters, whereas Shiro was never in Zero. He was just in there for like the last 10 minutes. So, like, I guess maybe it's that. And also, I think, like, with... yeah, it must be just the way it's told. Because I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, like, yeah, the only real characters that were really kind of getting any real like character development from is, like, as of this moment, is Rin and Shiro. Ilya we haven't had enough of yet, and Sakura just feels like a side character. Shinji, with you know, he gets mentioned a lot and he's been in a few scenes, but not nearly enough. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, just looking at Shiro, just the way that he sort of acts to this whole thing is very odd. It's very odd. Like, he is so, like, against this idea of killing other masters, and yet he was fine with fighting Rin. Like you know, they were still fighting. I don't know. I don't get it. It's just, he's weird. He's weird. This is why I need, like, more Kiritsugu. Like, you know, I feel like we need a few flashbacks to, like, get an idea of the reasons as to why Shiro acts the way that he does. He does seem very vanilla. I don't know if like that is intentional, or if anybody else feels that way at this point in the story. But I am thinking back, through, like, the past 5 episodes, and I'm like, has Shiro done anything that I feel means something? Not really. He's a great person, like, because it's already been, like, set up that, you know what I mean, oh, he helps anybody that asks for help and on all of this, right? He's a nice guy, but that's it, you know? I don't know. But anyway, yeah. And yeah, that's all. So that's all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below, links to certain things. Discord, get yourself over there. I'm over there. Community's over there. Get yourself over there and come talk. SirMonkeySuit.com, my website. All my content is over there. Get yourself over there and become a member. And Patreon. So I do have a Patreon. If you don't want to support me, that would be very much appreciated. There's a bunch of different tiers and rewards depending on how much you want to support me with. So there is $5 early access, gets you access to shows a week early, and 4 episodes of Fate a week. $10 a month, full length, that gives you access to my full length library. Everything I do gets a full length. Exclusive tier, $15, that gives you access to a bonus show, which I'm currently reacting to, which is 7 Deadly Sins. That's 2 episodes every Wednesday. Elite tier, that's $50. That gives you, every time you pay $50, you get a choice of a show that you want me to react to, and I will react to it. It will go to the bottom of the list by about 7 shows. Might take a while to get around to it, but I will do it eventually. But if you don't want to wait that long and you want to get to the very front of the queue so that your show gets reacted to next, then God tier is the one that you want. That's $100. But that is all. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.